The soul pierced through the bright moon world of the Qin Dynasty and became the younger brother of the first emperor, Ying Xiao, who had relied on each other since childhood, awakening the system of supernatural intelligence. From then on, there was an additional martial arts demon in the martial arts world that no expert could touch. Ding. The host understands the 9-Yang Manual and the Taixuan Sutra according to his internal skill. Ding. The host reads 3 pages of the sword manual and understands Dugu Jiujian and Taiji sword. Ding. The host observes the palm he strikes and comprehends the 18 dragon subduing palms and the Tathagata divine palm. Ding. The host feels the slight movement of the wind, comprehends the gentle steps of the waves and the vertical cloud ladder. With just a slight move, Ying Xiao was already the pinnacle of all martial arts masters. This world is dominated by Ying Xiao. Chapter 1. The Peak of Heaven and Man Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So, am I traveling? In a magnificent palace, Ying Xiao woke up quietly, rubbed his head, and with the influx of memories, gradually understood what had happened. During the Qin Dynasty, in Xianyang, the great Qin Dynasty, the imperial palace, Ying Xiao, the younger brother of the mother of the founding emperor Yingzheng, was granted the title of King Wu and the only king after the unification of the world by the great Qin Dynasty. But he had no intention of political affairs and became obsessed with practicing martial arts. Therefore, after the first emperor Yingzheng unified the world, he collected martial arts and internal skills from hundreds of schools, gathered their strengths, and created his own martial arts and internal skills, thus breaking through the realm of a great master in one fell swoop. The realm of martial arts can be divided into acquired and innate. The day after tomorrow, there are 9 levels, from low to high, from first level to 9th level, and each level has 4 sub-levels. Early stage, middle stage, late stage, and peak. There are 3 innate realms. Grandmaster, Heavenly Man, and Land Immortals. Each realm also has 4 sub-realms. Early, middle, late, and peak. Ying Xiao is already at the peak of the 9th grade. Unfortunately, at the moment of breaking through the master, he became possessed by a demon and died in the palace, giving him the current Ying Xiao. After being completely sober, Ying Xiao slapped his thigh and got up, feeling extremely excited. Ha ha ha, this identity is good. He is the only biological brother of the first emperor and has been dependent on him since childhood in the state of Zhao. Therefore, he is deeply trusted by the first emperor, and can be said to have unconditional trust. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been crowned as the only king. Rich clothes and delicious food, Gulan listens to music, he 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 he. But the laughter came to an abrupt end in just 2 seconds. Because Ying Xiao thought of the most important point, Fusu did not succeed, but Hu Hai succeeded. After Hu Hai succeeded to the throne, he joined forces with Zhao Gao to almost slaughter all the relatives of the Ying family. At that time, he, as the only king, would definitely bear the brunt. I'll wipe it, I'm glad too early. Ying Xiao patted his thigh again, but there was no more excitement than before. There was only solemnity. No, we have to kill Zhao Gao, or else the throne won't be guaranteed. By the way, there is also the Yun Zhong Jun from the Yin Yang family. It was these goods that were used to refine pills for Zhenggu, which led to his premature death before he even reached the age of 50. With Zheng Ji's death, even if Fusu ascends the throne, he may not be able to control the remaining evils of the 6 kingdoms. At that time, the throne will still be in jeopardy. But how to kill these 2 goods? Although I rely on my relationship with Brother Zheng to request an order to kill these 2 goods, he is likely to agree. However, these 2 goods will definitely not sit idly by. Yun Zhongjuan is the pinnacle of his master, and he possesses the elusive yin-yang and alchemy skills, which are not inferior to ordinary experts in the heavenly and human realms. Zhao Gao, the eunuch, is even more powerful. The leader of the trap is unfathomable and may have reached the later stage of the heavenly and human realm, or even the peak of the heavenly and human realm. Difficult. Suddenly, Ying Xiao's eyes lit up with excitement and he said, "Yes, young master, I am a legitimate crosser of the Miao Hong lineage. How could I not have a system?" Immediately, Ying Xiao began to call out, "System Baba, is there any wood? Is there any wood? If there's something, don't hide it. If there's nothing, just say a word. Baba, come out and meet your great-grandson." Ding! It was obvious that Ying Xiao's call had an effect, and the cold mechanical sound echoed in his mind. "Host, don't worry, this system is never absent, and it's never as late as that damn justice. The system binding for the heaven-defying understanding has been successful. The host will gain an extraordinary understanding, and in conversation and laughter, they can comprehend all powerful internal skills and martial arts. Overwhelming comprehension, it seems pretty good, give it a try." Immediately, Ying Xiao sat down and used his previous internal skills to gain insight. In just 3 breaths, the sound of the system will sound. Ding! The host can understand the 9-yang manual and Taixuan Sutra according to his internal skill. At once, the cultivation methods and mental skills of the 9-yang manual and Taixuan Sutra appeared in Ying Xiao's mind. Sleeping trough, ox fork. With a shocking sound, Ying Xiao immediately entered a state of cultivation. With such incredible insight, Ying Xiao's cultivation of the 2 major internal skills was even easier than farting and defecating. Boom! Quickly, a powerful internal force erupted from Ying Xiao's body, and he instantly broke through from the peak of the 9th grade to the early stage of the master. However, this was not the end, but the beginning. Grandmaster mid-term. Master's later stage. In the later stage of the heavenly and human realm. The pinnacle of heaven and humanity. In just one day, Ying Xiao broke through from the peak of the 9th grade to the peak of the heavenly and human realm. Spitting out a mouthful of turbid air, Ying Xiao's eyes opened in an instant, and a condensed aura burst forth. His whole being instantly sublimated, as if a true celestial being had descended. "It feels so powerful," Ying Xiao said heavily. "In the absence of land immortals, I am invincible in the great Qin Jianghu, and it seems that there are no land immortals. Yunzhong Jun, Zhao Gao, you two are good guys. Now that I kill you, we can't discuss it." However, Ying Xiao was not in a hurry to leave the level. With the development of internal skills and realm, there is still a lack of martial arts. Immediately, Ying Xiao's eyes fell on the stack of sword manuals by his side, and he casually took a book to open. He only flipped through 3 pages, and the voice of the heavenly understanding system rang out. Ding! The host reads 3 pages of the sword manual and understands Dugu Jiujian and Taiji sword. Quickly, the cultivation techniques and methods of the 2 sword techniques appeared in Ying Xiao's mind. Ying Xiao also picked up a sword and danced it. In half a day, both sword techniques were cultivated to a great perfection by Ying Xiao. It's so exhilarating. Ying Xiao was extremely excited. Come back to the palm technique. There is no manual here, because in the current great Qin martial arts world, swords are the most revered, and almost all people in the martial arts world are practicing swords. Therefore, Ying Xiao only collected sword manuals before. But it doesn't matter. Ying Xiao casually slapped himself. With this palm strike, he truly understood. Ding! The host observes the palm he strikes and comprehends the 18 dragons subduing palms and the Tathagata divine palm. At this moment, a gentle breeze blew into the palace from outside, and Ying Xiao involuntarily began to feel the breeze. It moved with the breeze, and in an instant, the remnants of the main hall passed by. Ding! The host feels the power of the gentle breeze, comprehends the wave-like steps and the vertical cloud ladder. That's about it. It's enough to kill Zhao Gao and Yun Zhongjuan, Lin Fanxie smiled confidently. However, if you're familiar with it, you can't capsize in the sewer. Then, Ying Xiao continued to stay in seclusion for 10 days. 10 days later, Ying Xiao walked out of the palace. Refreshing and refreshing. But looking around, there was only him alone in the mansion of Prince Noa Dao, which seemed a bit bleak. In the past, Ying Xiao didn't even have a servant to focus on his cultivation without any distractions. Alas, the former Ying Xiao was really blind to the identity of King Wu, and also to such a large Wuwang mansion. How could he manage to have some beautiful maids? The autumn wind is bleak, and winter is coming soon. It's so nice to warm up the bed. Ying Xiao shook his head helplessly. Suddenly, Ying Xiao felt a figure rushing towards him. Zhang Han, the commander of the Shadow Secret Guard created by Zhenggu, was in the later stage of the Grandmaster realm, murmured Ying Xiao. Zhang Han pays his respects to His Royal Highness King Wu. When he arrived in front of Ying Xiao, Zhang Han bowed respectfully and said. Zhenggu once had an order to see Ying Xiao as if seeing him. Therefore, in this great Qin Dynasty, except for Zhenggu himself, everyone else must kneel and bow to Ying Xiao. Get up, Your Majesty, let Commander Zhang come in person. There must be something important, Ying Xiao asked. Returning to His Highness King Wu, Gai Nye has defected. His Majesty asked King Wu to go and meet him as soon as he left the pass, Zhang Han responded. I see. Ying Xiao nodded and asked again, I think the so-called 100 schools of thought, and the remnants of the 6 kingdoms are also starting to stir up. Yes, His Highness King Wu, Zhang Han arched his hand and said. At the moment when Zhang Han arched his hand to respond, Ying Xiao had already disappeared from his sight. After Zhang Han reacted, Ying Xiao's trace disappeared completely. Chapter 2. I want to kill 2 people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This. Zhang Han was instantly startled and said heavily, it seems that His Highness Wu Wang has successfully broken through to the Grandmaster realm. But before he could finish speaking, Zhang Han's expression changed again, because he himself was a master in the later stage of the master. Even the super master in the early stage of the heavenly and human realm could not appear and disappear in front of him like this, making him unable to feel it. Hiss. Unable to resist, Zhang Han took a deep breath. How could it be? His Highness Wu broke through directly to the mid-stage of the heavenly and human realm, or even to the late stage of the heavenly and human realm. For a long time, Zhang Han couldn't recover from the shock. In the main hall of the Imperial Palace, Ying Xiao has arrived and is preparing to kneel down to pay his respects. Your Majesty. But he was stopped by Ying Zheng. Xiao Di, didn't you say that when there is no one around, you and I don't need these so-called rituals? Ying Xiao remained calm and smiled, I understand, Brother Zheng. That's right. Upon hearing this sound from Zhenggu, a hint of a smile appeared on Ying Zheng's majestic and domineering face, and he also asked with concern, how is this seclusion going? It's going very smoothly, Ying Xiao smiled and immediately followed suit. I heard from Zhang Han that Zhenggu has been troubled by the restlessness of various schools of thought and the remaining evils of the 6 countries these days. Ying Zheng's expression instantly became solemn, and he spoke heavily, yes. Xiao Di, it's easy to eliminate the 6 kingdoms and ensure that books are written in the same way, cars are on the same track, regulations are in the same system, conduct is in the same ethics, and land is in the same domain. However, it's too difficult to make the people of the 6 kingdoms feel the same way. After 700 years of turmoil, achieving true unity is not something that can be achieved overnight. This great Qin may seem powerful, but in reality, it may have reached a point of conflict. There are Xiongnu in the north, Baiyue in the south, and 100 schools of thought and the remnants of the 6 kingdoms within. There is also the so-called 100,000 strong peasant family, all of which want to overthrow the great Qin. Brother Zheng, I don't know much about war, but the Jianghu. Ying Xiao said, it won't be long before I let all the families, the remaining evils of the 6 kingdoms and the farmers understand that the Jianghu is the final say. Okay, Brother Xiao, that's what we're waiting for. Hearing Ying Xiao willing to share the pressure for him, Ying Zheng's face lit up with a smile once again. Then, he took his Tianwen sword and handed it to Ying Xiao. Xiaodi, from the Jianghu side, I'll leave it to you. Ying Xiao did not refuse Tianwen's sword because refusing Jinggu would make him unhappy. He took his hands and promised again, don't worry, Jinggu. When have you ever been disappointed? But before leaving Xianyang, I have to kill 2 people. Who? Ying Zheng became curious. Jinggu, one is Zhao Gao, the commander of the Zhongche prefecture and the leader of the trap, and the other is Yun Zhongjun, one of the 5 elders of the Yin Yang family. Ying Xiao said. Xiaodi, you know, when you do things, I never ask. Zhao Gao, if you want to kill him, you can kill him. But Yun Zhongjun. Ying Zheng said, I do need him again. Jinggu, do you need the elixir he refined? Ying Xiao said. Ying Zheng nodded. Jinggu, can someone bring 50 pills refined by the Cloud Lord and bring a death row prisoner up now? Ying Xiao said. For this, Ying Zheng did not refuse, Shadow Guard. At the command of Ying Zheng, a Shadow Guard quickly obtained 50 pills refined by the Cloud Lord, and the 2 Shadow Guards brought the death row inmates up. There's no need for Ying Xiao to say anything more. Ying Zheng also knows what Ying Xiao wants to do and orders, try the medicine together with 50 pills. Yes, Your Majesty. 50 pills were infused into the stomach of the death row inmate, who was already on the brink of death. In an instant, the prisoner's spirit was refreshed, as if he was about to transform and soar. But soon, The condemned man screamed in agony, rolling wildly, with a terrifying expression on his face. The pitch-black lines had already covered his face, and he looked like a fierce ghost. In less than a quarter of an hour, the death row inmate's body was touched a few times before losing any breath. Seeing this scene, Ying Zheng's face instantly darkened and became extremely cold. He angrily said, "Step back." As the Shadow Guard retreated with the corpses of the death row inmates, Ying Xiao spoke up, "Jinggu, that's why I want to kill Yun Zhongjun. His pill is actually poison. Jinggu, you take one daily. It does have a short-term effect on improving mental health, but over time, toxins will accumulate enough in your body. At that time, Yun Zhongjun, it's time to kill." Ying Zheng was furious and his eyes began to bleed. "Come on. Jinggu, ordinary Shadow Guard cannot capture this thief, I will go." Hearing that Ying Zheng was going to call Shadow Guard, Ying Xiao quickly said. "The movement of the Shadow Guard is too loud, and there is a possibility that it may be escaped by the Cloud Lord." "Okay," Ying Zheng nodded as he suppressed his anger. "Jinggu, don't work too hard. Let Li Si review many memorials and follow the instructions of the imperial physician to take good care and rest," Ying Xiao instructed. "Xiaodi, I understand." Ying Zheng responded. "All right, Brother Zheng, I'm going to do something," Ying Xiao said, with a murderous intent already emanating from his body. "Be careful." After Ying Xiao left, Ying Zheng immediately summoned Zhang Han. In an unquestionable tone, he ordered, "Zhang Han, gather all Shadow Guards and secretly protect King Wu." "Your Majesty, Your Highness Wu Wang probably doesn't need the protection of the Shadow Guard," Zhang Han responded. "With Your Highness Wu Wang's current martial arts skills, there are almost no people in the martial arts world who can harm His Highness Wu Wang." Upon hearing Zhang Han's words, Ying Zheng was overjoyed and said, "Good kid." Of course, there was no change in Ying Zheng's appearance. He waved his hand and said, "Since that's the case, that's all. By the way, has the leader of the Taoist heavenly sect left the level?" "Your Majesty, not yet." Zhang Han responded. "Send an edict, come out of seclusion and let her assist King Wu," said Ying Zheng. "Yes, Your Majesty." In Xianyang, Ying Zheng built an independent alchemy palace for Yun Zhongjun. As night fell, Ying Xiao arrived here. Ying Xiao held the Tianwen sword in his hand, and along the way, all the servants and guards belonging to the Lord of Clouds knelt down. "Without my king's command, no one is allowed to get up," Ying Xiao whispered softly, but his voice contained powerful internal power. instantly spreading throughout the entire alchemy palace. Yun Zhongjun naturally felt it and immediately led his disciples out to welcome him. In front of Ying Xiao, Yun Zhongjun also had to kneel and bow down. I don't know if His Highness King Wu is coming, but you have missed the opportunity to welcome me from afar. Please forgive me, Your Highness King Wu, said Lord Yun respectfully. At this moment, the Cloud Lord's heart was filled with turmoil. As a master at the peak of the Grandmaster realm, he could feel the powerful internal power contained in Ying Xiao's previous words, which was definitely possessed by supermasters in the heaven and human realm. How could it be that Ying Xiao has already broken through the realm of heaven and humanity? Yun Zhongjun muttered to himself in disbelief, is he really a martial arts genius? In the past, he was only delayed by many trivial matters, but now when he closes down, his talent is fully displayed. Shwa shwa shwa. At this moment, 3 figures rushed over and in the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of Ying Xiao. The child with a tattoo on his face and larger pupils is the Star Soul, one of the 2 major guardians of the Yin-Yang family. The girl with purple hair, purple pupils, purple skirts, and purple silk, covered in a purple veil, is exactly the same as Xiao Siming, who is one of the 5 elders of the Yin-Yang family as Yun Zhongjun. The charming and alluring woman, dressed in a red and black dress, is the other elder of the Yin-Yang family, Siming. The 3 of them also knelt down and respectfully said, Your Highness, King Wu. The reason why the 3 of them came was naturally because they felt Ying Xiao's powerful internal power, so at this moment, Xinghuan and Deshiming were also shocked in their eyes. As for Xiao Siming, he remained cold and calm. Seeing Xiao Siming and Desiming, Ying Xiao's heart couldn't calm down in an instant. He muttered to himself in a lewd tone, I must be obedient. They are indeed top-notch treasures in the world. If I don't take them, who will take them from? Chapter 3. 1 Palm, 1 Sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No matter how lewd his inner self is, his appearance cannot be expressed. Ying Xiao whispered lightly, let's all get up. Your Highness Wu Wang, please come inside. Yun Zhongjun, dressed in an embroidered Taoist robe, immediately walked to Ying Xiao's side and bowed. No need, I'm here to kill someone. If I kill someone, I'll leave. Tianwen's sword stood on the ground, and Ying Xiao put his hands on the hilt, speaking coldly. Suddenly, the killing intent had also spread. Upon hearing Ying Xiao's words, the eyes of Xinghuan, Yun Zhongjun, and Deshiming all trembled. Ying Xiao, the only king of the Great Qin, was the younger brother of the first emperor, and came with the Tianwen sword. It is obvious that the person to be killed must be extraordinary. As for Xiao Siming, she remains calm as water. Perhaps nothing can affect her calmness. After being shocked, Xinghuan and Deshiming coincidentally looked at Yun Zhongjun, because Ying Xiao had entered the alchemy palace. In this alchemy palace, there was only one person who could bring Ying Xiao himself and kill him with the Tianwen sword, which was Yun Zhongjun. Yun Zhongjun can naturally think of this as well. Moreover, he naturally knew very well why Ying Zheng killed him. But he didn't want to accept this fact, so he quickly smiled and said, Your Highness Wu wants to kill anyone here. Let the servant command me to come next. Why bother Your Highness Wu to come personally? Ying Xiao didn't want to waste time with Yun Zhongjun and said directly, Yun Zhongjun, the person I want to kill is you. Sure enough. Xinghuan and Deshiming both muttered to themselves. Then the 2 of them exchanged a glance and moved slowly. Although there was no eye contact between Xiao Siming and the 2, they moved slowly. The 3 of them quickly formed a surrounding situation towards Yun Zhongjun. Although they both belong to the Yin-Yang family, they understand that they are loyal to the first emperor. Yun Zhongjun's expression was clearly flustered, but the more he laughed, Your Highness Wu Wang is really good at joking. Since Yun Zhongjun believes that I am joking, then I will give him a chance to make a joke. You can take 100 pills of the golden elixir that you have refined for your majesty and eat them in front of me. After finishing them, I will be joking when I come. Ying Xiao said coldly. Yunzhongjun still smiled and said, "Yes, His Highness King Wu." Then immediately instruct his disciples to go and fetch the pill for him. Quickly, 100 golden pills were brought over, and without any hesitation, Yunzhongjun took 2 of them first. These 2 golden pills should not be called golden pills, but real person pills and gathering immortal pills. Ying Xiao then said, taking these 2 pills will open up the meridians of the whole body, stimulate various potential of the body, strengthen the yin and yang qi, and the power of the pills can even lead people into an extraordinary realm. Your Cloud Lord is already the peak of the Grandmaster realm. Under these 2 pills, you can have the combat power in the middle stage of the heavenly and human realm, and even in the later stage of the heavenly and human realm. What? Upon hearing Ying Xiao's words, Xinghuan and De Shiming were shocked. Yunzhongjun was equally shocked. You actually saw it. Humph, do you think I believe you will eat 100 golden pills? Ying Xiao sneered coldly, let's take action. I'll give you a chance. If you can kill me, you can leave Xianyang City. Yunzhongjun naturally stopped pretending and laughed ferociously. Ying Xiao, you really can pretend. What kind of thing is that you have obtained a throne for Ying Zheng's younger brother? If you come down from the throne, Yunzhongjun will crush you as easily as pinching an ant. Yunzhongjun, you are seeking death. How dare you disrespect His Royal Highness the King of Wu? Starry Soul coldly spoke, his right hand already gathering qi into a blade, and he said he wanted to launch an attack first. Step down, and if he really kills me, let him leave Xianyang City, Ying Xiao ordered. Ying Xiao ordered that Xinghuan, the Grand Minister, and the Junior Minister must retreat. However, none of the 3 dared to relax at all, always paying attention to the Cloud Lord, because if Ying Xiao had an accident in front of them, Emperor Shi would have caused them to die tragically. Yunzhongjun naturally wouldn't refuse to fight alone against Ying Xiao, and he wanted to take Ying Xiao as a hostage. For him, this was the only chance he could safely leave Xianyang City. Boom! With the burst of energy from the Immortal Pill and the Gathering Immortal Pill, Yunzhongjun's internal power instantly surged, and he could feel that it was no less than a super expert in the later stage of the true heavenly and human realm. Looking at the Cloud Lord at this moment, De Siming couldn't help but mutter, is this the power of his Immortal Pill and Juxian Pill? Your Highness, be careful. Star Soul reminded Ying Xiao in a deep voice. The illusion of a giant spirit. At this point, Yunzhongjun had already unleashed his ultimate move. In an instant, he was incredibly huge, with an intimidating aura that seemed to overturn the entire city of Xianyang. Ying Xiao also moved and slapped. Only the sound of dragon chants echoed, and a golden dragon condensed from internal energy roared out of Ying Xiao's palm, shattering the illusion of the Cloud Lord's spirit with a destructive force. 18 Dragon subduing palms. Proud dragon never regrets. Ong. Roar. Space trembled, waves swept through, and the Star Soul, Grand Commander-in-Chief, and Junior Commander-in-Chief were all shaken back by the powerful force of the 18 dragon subduing palms. As for the disciples of Yunzhongjun, they were split apart in a scream. Blood began to scatter in this magnificent alchemy palace. Ah! This palm not only shattered the illusion of Yunzhongjun's giant spirit, but also dealt a heavy blow to him. In the wave of internal energy, he was already disheveled, vomiting blood, and rolling to the ground. Hiss. Ying Xiao's palm directly shook Xing's soul and De Siming, and the two couldn't help but take a cold breath and look at each other again. They have never seen such martial arts before. That palm, that terrifying and powerful force, can truly shatter everything. Ying Xiao, I'll kill you. Yunzhongjun stood behind him with a ferocious expression, ignoring any aftereffects, completely activating the power of the Immortal Pill and the Gathering Immortal Pill, and his internal strength was greatly increased once again. In my hand, the Tianzhao sword, ranked 13th in the sword spectrum, is already there, emitting a burst of golden light and scorching heat. Zhaoyun Weiyang slash. This sword illuminated the night sky, as if cutting open the sky. Sword Manual 13, Tianzhao sword, you can also use it. Ying Xiao said, using his finger as his sword. Yunzhong Jun, he is not worthy of Ying Xiao's sword. Dugu Jiujin. Breaking sword style. Shua. Swordsmanship intertwined, and figures flickered. At the next moment, a human head has already landed, not belonging to the Lord of the Clouds, but to someone else. The Tianzhao sword fell from above and was caught by Ying Xiao. The battle has ended between lightning and flint. Hiss. Xinghuan and De Shiming gasped for breath again. With one palm and one sword, in an instant, Yun Zhongjuan, who could rival the super experts in the later stage of the heavenly and human realm, was slain. They couldn't imagine how strong Ying Xiao was. Ying Xiao remained expressionless and threw the Tianzhao sword to Xinghuan, instructing, on behalf of the king, I present it to your majesty. Yes, His Highness King Wu. Taking the Tianzhao sword, the star soul reacted from the shock. De Siming Ying Xiao Siming, from today on, you will follow me and obey my orders. Ying Xiao also said to De Siming and Xiao Siming's orders. Yes, His Highness King Wu, the two women responded respectfully. Let's go. With a faint sound, Ying Xiao left the alchemy palace with the Grand Minister and the young minister, heading towards the residence of the commander-in-chief of the Zhongche mansion. Tonight, destined to continue sleepless. Has His Highness the King of Wu had any adventures or is he a martial arts prodigy? I have never seen either the fierce and domineering palm technique or the sharp and terrifying sword technique. After Ying Xiao left completely, Xinghuan muttered in his heart, with the finger as the sword, facing the 13th heavenly light sword in the sword manual, achieving instant killing may not even be possible for Gai Nye, who is known as the Sword Saint. This matter needs to be immediately reported to Lord Donghuan. Soon, the star's soul also disappeared into the alchemy palace. Chapter 4. Today is indeed not a good day. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The matter at the alchemy palace is not over. The slaughter truly begins. The shadow guard has surrounded this place, and under the cover of night, every shadow guard is like a ghost. Anyone who participates in the Cloud Lord's alchemy will be killed. Here, quickly filled with a bloody smell. Everything here needs to be washed with blood. All sorcerers, leave no one behind. All pills, burn them all. Zhang Han stood at the top of the palace and said coldly. Not long after, a raging fire also broke out here. Only by turning everything here into ashes can the anger of the first emperor be slightly calmed. Zhao Gao, the commander of the Zhongche prefecture, a high-ranking official in the empire, a leader in the trap, a favored minister of the first emperor, was granted a mansion that was not inferior to the mansion of the imperial prime minister Li Si, and was located independently. The broad and magnificent streets seem like bridges leading to death. Under the night, the smell of death becomes even stronger, and wherever the leaves fall, they seem to be filled with endless killing energy. The atmosphere was so intense that even the Grand Marshal, who was following Ying Xiao, couldn't help but look serious. He wanted to ask, but looking at Ying Xiao's back, he was afraid of angering him. Ask whatever you want to say, Ying Xiao whispered softly. I dare to ask His Highness King Wu, why are you here? The Grand Minister arched his hand and said. Of course, it's also to kill one person, Ying Xiao responded. Upon hearing such an answer, De Siming was once again surprised. Ying Xiao continued to whisper softly, De Siming, as one of the 5 elders of the Yin Yang family, you cannot be ignorant of the Luo Net. Do you think the Luo Net is truly loyal to His Majesty? Or rather, in your eyes, does this trap belong to your Majesty or to the CRRC prefectural order? His Highness King Wu, I never dare to speculate on political matters. I only know how to be loyal to His Majesty the First Emperor, said the Grand Minister in a somewhat panicked tone. I believe that the words and thoughts in De Siming's heart are just like this, Ying Xiao smiled. Ying Xiao was laughing, but De Siming felt as if he had fallen into an icy abyss. He trembled with fear and said, "Your Highness Wu's words are not only a lack of trust in the trap, but also a lack of trust in the Yin-Yang family. It seems that the true purpose of killing the Cloud Lord is not because of the Golden Elixir incident, but to deter the Yin-Yang family." Zhao Gao underestimated His Majesty the First Emperor and His Highness King Wu, and the leader also underestimated His Majesty the First Emperor and His Highness King Wu. Outside the Zhongche prefectural office, Zhao Gao led the 6 swordsmen and a group of trap killers to welcome Ying Xiao. Trapped in the sky and earth, penetrating through every hole. At the moment Ying Xiao stepped into this place, Zhao Gao knew. Or, at the moment Ying Xiao entered the alchemy palace, Zhao Gao knew. Or, at the moment Ying Xiao came out of seclusion, every move was already in Zhao Gao's eyes. What Zhao Gao Wei didn't know was probably what Ying Xiao and the First Emperor said in the palace. Zhao Gao wore a black and red hat, blood-red hair, eagle eyes, a pale face, a cold nose, crimson lips like blood jade, a gloomy expression, and a black and red robe like a spider's web. Zhao Gao looks like a humble gentleman, gentle as jade. So, many times Zhao Gao holds a green jade in his right hand, and this moment is no exception. As Ying Xiao approached, cracks appeared on this emerald green jade. Zhao Gao's expression froze and he whispered softly, "For no reason, jade is shattered. Today doesn't seem like a good day." Immediately, this piece of jade turned into ashes in Zhao Gao's hands and dispersed with the gentle breeze. At the same time, Zhao Gao's gaze also inadvertently scanned the 6 sword slaves. At this moment, although Ying Xiao was still far away from Zhao Gao, he heard it and responded calmly, "Today is not a good day." "I heard." Zhao Gao couldn't help but tremble in his heart. Ying Xiao no longer walked slowly forward, but took a gentle step and quickly approached Zhao Gao. He said calmly, "It seems that you still underestimate me. Perhaps Yinzhong Jun is not in your eyes. But it doesn't matter. I want to kill 2 people tonight, one is the Lord of Clouds and the other. I'm here." At this point, Zhao Gao stopped pretending and took Ying Xiao's words, regaining his composure and whispering softly, "But your Highness Wu, you only brought 1 Grand Minister and 1 Lesser Minister, so you wanted to take your subordinate's head from his mansion. Isn't that a bit? Are you a bit too confident? Just give it a try and you'll know." Ying Xiao sneered. At this moment, the group of assassins behind Zhao Gao had already moved. There are a total of 20 assassins either at the level of land or killing. Earth-level assassins are all in the realm of 9th grade. Killer-level assassins are all in the realm of masters. Luo Wang, as expected, belongs only to you Zhao Gao. Ying Xiaodan said, "Every assassin has no emperor in their heart, only you, the commander of the Zhongche prefecture. During the cruel and bloody training, they obey you obediently." "Your Highness, you're right, but you're not right," Zhao Gaowei said. "The trap has a trap system, and they don't obey Zhao Gao or the orders of the CRRC government, but the leader of the trap. Absolute obedience to the leader is the system of trap, which is also what His Majesty the First Emperor wanted. Is that so? Your Majesty has an order, you have to die. Why don't you cut yourself off?" Ying Xiao sneered and also moved, his fierce internal strength instantly gathering in his palm. 18 Dragon subduing palms. Dragon battle in the wild. At the same time, the 9 Yang manual urges the internal power of the scorching sun to make the 18 dragon subduing palms more powerful, reaching a limit. Several dragon shadows roared out from all directions with Ying Xiao as the center, sweeping through everything. In the midst of a howl, all the land-level assassins and killing-level assassins fell to the ground and never got up again. Another incredibly powerful and domineering palm technique. With one palm, the 20 experts appeared to have no external trauma, but in reality, all their internal organs were shattered. De Siming was once again shocked by the 18 dragon subduing palms. What kind of palm technique is this? There is a feeling that no yin-yang technique can penetrate this kind of fierce and domineering palm technique. True dragon form, is this the unique martial arts palm technique of the Ying family? It can't be self-created, can it? Seeing the 18 dragons subduing palms with his own eyes, Zhao Gao's eagle-eyed eyes were also shocked, and he muttered in his heart, what a martial king. In the past, I really underestimated him. The heart was shaken, but Zhao Gao remained as usual, responding to Ying Xiao, Your Highness, the only thing that can kill the leader of the trap is His Majesty's words or His Majesty's decree. Moreover, even if His Highness Wu Wang has the Tianwen sword in his hand, he has no right to let the leader of the trap die. Humph. Ying Xiao sneered coldly. At this moment, the 6 swordsmen moved. 6 individuals, all of whom are at the first level of the Tianzi level, are in the Tianren realm, and they are either at the later stage of the Tianren realm or at the peak of the Tianren realm. And, the 6 in 1, miraculous and seamless. In their hands, they are all famous swords. Previously, the 20 land level and kill level assassins, including Zhao Gao, had been arguing with Ying Xiao to create an excellent opportunity for the 6 swordsmen to kill Ying Xiao with one strike. The 6 swordsmen, if they take action, always end the battle in an instant and do not give the enemy any chance to react. 6 swordsmen, a good opponent, worthy of being unsheathed by Tianwen sword. Unlike when fighting against the Lord of the Clouds, in this moment, Ying Xiao felt a strong killing intent, even the breath of death. This killing intent and the breath of death made Ying Xiao's fighting intent burn in an instant, and he also drew the Tianwen sword in that moment. Ding ding dang dang. Sword light crisscrossed, and his figure shuttled back and forth. In an instant, Ying Xiao and the 6 swordsmen engaged in several rounds of battle between life and death. As the internal forces of both sides collided violently between the sword qi, the countershock force gave both sides a first chance to stop. Such a scene completely shocked Zhao Gao. This is the second time that only one person blocked the perfect ultimate strike of the 6 swordsmen. Chapter 5. Zhao Gao's Weapons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The first one is Zhao Gao. However, he was not as relaxed as Ying Xiao at that time. This Ying Xiao is truly a martial arts prodigy. Zhao Gao's heart twisted as he truly felt the danger for the first time. De Siming was also shocked again. Is this the strength of His Highness the King of Wu to pull out the Tianwen sword? Even the sword Saint Gaimia couldn't resist the perfect ultimate strike of the 6 swordsmen just now. Glancing at the 6 swordsmen, Ying Xiao couldn't help but admire them. 6 in 1, incredibly skilled, the 6 swordsmen are truly the most perfect murder weapon. The seamless cooperation is beyond the reach of other swordsman organizations. Zhen Gang's first attack lured my king to strike with all his might. Turning his soul and destroying his soul wanted to lock the sword in my king's hand. He attacked from both sides of Chaos God and Broken Water, while Wang Liang's double swords swiftly attacked from behind my king. At the same time, he launched an attack, becoming a super expert at the peak of the heavenly and human realms who had experienced countless battles. Perhaps he could not withstand such a strike. However, His Highness Wu Wang perfectly and easily blocked it, said Zhen Gang, with a tone full of admiration. Although the 6 swordsmen were fugitives and wandering swordsmen, they also had a deep respect for swordsmanship in their hearts, and it was very deep. Otherwise, their swords would not have reached this level. Ying Xiao's sword deserves their respect. So, with the next strike, go all out, otherwise the Tianwen sword will cut off your heads, Ying Xiao said. Just as His Highness Wu Wang said, Zhen Gang responded. At the next moment, the 6 swordsmen's sword power casually entered the peak that other swordsmen could only achieve when facing life and death. 6 swordsmen, they are the strongest among countless fugitives and wandering swordsmen. In a trap, they have experienced countless bloody killings and cruel training but have never failed as terrifying assassins. The life and death they have experienced in this world can only be compared to themselves. The killing sword movement also made Ying Xiao's heart tremble. The so-called killing machine is nothing better than this. Ying Xiao sighed in his heart again. There are no fancy moves, no frivolous skills. All he has is a sword, a deadly sword, a deadly sword. After this sword, you die and I die. I really can't bear to let them die. Ying Xiao naturally became more serious and activated the Taixuan Jing. His internal power was like a tide and waves, endless. In this moment, he had already comprehended the breaking sword technique of the lonely 9 swords thousands of times under his rebellious understanding, reaching a pinnacle. A kind of invincible confidence grew in Ying Xiao's heart. What is Dugujiujin? He spent his entire life alone until he grew old and still had no opponent to fight against. Seeking defeat is true loneliness, but he can never achieve a defeat, only breaking through all the swords of the world. No matter how strong the sword is, it is only the weakest in front of this sword. This sword also has no fancy moves, let alone any superficial skills. It's just one sword, one strike, and 10,000 swords are broken. At the moment when the swords of both sides intertwined, the figures of Ying Xiao and 6 sword slaves collided again, their swords crisscrossing and their swords full of energy. In the blink of an eye, the victory and defeat had already been decided. 6 figures fell to the ground simultaneously, and it was the 6 swordsmen. Of course, Ying Xiao did not kill the 6 swordsmen. Firstly, he was reluctant to part ways with it. Secondly, the 6 swordsmen were still useful to Ying Xiao, and it was a great use. As for loyalty, fugitives and wandering swordsmen, besides having true respect for swordsmanship and their own cultivation, there is no such thing as loyalty. They obeyed Zhao Gao just because he was stronger. So, the only way for Ying Xiao to make them obey him was to kill Zhao Gao. What kind of sword is that? The 6 sword slaves 6 in 1 sword can be considered the most perfect sword, but in front of His Highness Wu Wang's sword, it is not qualified to be called a sword. No, no sword is qualified to be called a sword. The numbness in De Siming's heart, which had already been shaken, couldn't help but speak. I have seen Gainie's sword, and I once thought it was the strongest sword, but... De Siming was even more thinking, I don't know if Lord Donghuang is compared to His Highness Wu Wang. This sword also touched Xiao Siming, and some shock finally appeared in his calm purple pupils. Zhao Gao's expression naturally wouldn't be good, but it didn't last long, and he even applauded Ying Xiao, praising him, Your Highness, you can really surprise me. Ying Xiao responded calmly, At this moment, you are still so calm. It is obvious that you have absolute confidence in yourself. In my memory, I have never seen you take action. I believe not only this king is curious, but also the 2 masters of the Yin Yang family are very curious about it. Your Highness, what about Zhao Gao? The Yin Yang family really doesn't know, the Grand Minister arched his hand and said to Ying Xiao. Your Highness Wu is so curious that I naturally cannot dampen His Highness Wu's interest, Zhao Gaowei said, with a colorful spider on each of his middle fingers. Ying Xiao took the lead and jumped up and down the vertical ladder in an instant. In his hand, he swung the Tianwen sword vertically and slashed it down, with a powerful and heavy force. The sword's light was even more than 10 meters long and wide. Zhao Gaofeng's light clouds were faint, and his hands spread out like demons, blocking Ying Xiao's sword. Spider silk. Can block the edge of Tianwen sword. Ying Xiao squinted and murmured, So this is your weapon, it's really unexpected. People all think that the leader of the trap must be the strongest swordsman. Sword, indeed, dominates this world, Zhao Gao said. But my subordinate dominates the sword. The sword's sharpness is too strong, and only this soft spider silk can be controlled by the sword. Of course, this is spider silk that has gone through countless trials and tribulations. Your Highness Wu, can you see these 2 colorful spiders in your hands? They feed on sword energy, internal power, and the essence and blood of experts. As Zhao Gao's words fell, Ying Xiao immediately noticed that the sword energy around his Tianwen sword was rapidly weakening, and the internal power he had unleashed was also rapidly weakening. What a powerful spider. Ying Xiao couldn't help but admire it. Your Highness, you know darkness and what a trap is, Zhao Gao continued. A net, an endless net, covers the entire empire, but no one can see it, because this net is deep in the darkness. The end of the darkness is the abyss. This spider comes from the abyss. 1000000200000. Millions of such abyssal spiders were placed together, along with a large number of deadly assassins and swordsmen. After the blood dried up, only these two survived. Are you telling me that you control all the darkness of this empire? Ying Xiao sneered, are you telling me that without you, this empire would collapse in half? He. Zhao Gao, you look too high at yourself. This empire only exists because of the founding emperor. You, at the end of the day, are just a temple person. It's because of your Majesty's favor that you have everything you have today. You arrogantly believe that you are half the pillar of the empire, which is ridiculous. His Highness, no one has ever said that my subordinate is a temple person for a long time. Upon hearing the words temple person, Zhao Gao became completely ferocious. That terrifying spider silk, colorless and tasteless, like the strongest sword, came towards Ying Xiao. Ying Xiao put away the Tianwen sword. The abyss spider, which feeds on sword energy and internal strength, should still be respected. In the next moment, Ying Xiao's eyes suddenly burst into a golden light, and the five-colored internal power instantly turned golden. Buzz, buzz. The sound of Buddha's Brahma emanated from Ying Xiao's body, echoing with a resounding sound. A golden Buddha's shadow condensed around Ying Xiao, indestructible and seamlessly integrated. Buddha's palm. Buddha moves mountains and rivers. The internal power is so concentrated that Zhao Gao's abyss spider can no longer absorb any trace of Ying Xiao's internal power. Chapter 6. Is ultimately a sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What? Feeling that the abyss spider was unable to absorb Ying Xiao's internal power, Zhao Gao was completely panicked and lost his color in shock. But Zhao Gao's attack did not stop. Countless spider threads instantly formed a terrifying web of strangulation, enveloping the Buddha's shadow condensed by Ying Xiao's internal strength. With all his strength, the spider threads gathered to crush the Buddha's shadow and Ying Xiao's strangulation. On the spider silk, colorful toxins are also spreading, eroding the Buddha's shadow. What a powerful poison, it's just a pity that I can't get close to my king, Ying Xiao said calmly, jumping up high and quickly stamping his hands before slapping him. In the sound of Sanskrit, the Buddha's shadow grew huge, and with that palm, it seemed like a sky descending, shaking the mountains and rivers, directly bursting the spider web. The palm continued to impact, shattering the rock floor and sweeping dust, driving Zhao Gao deep into the ground. What kind of martial arts is this, even more powerful than the just dragon-shaped palm technique, the Buddha shadow palm, which can crush everything? De Siming was already stunned and numb. The 6 swordsmen, who were accustomed to life and death, also saw shock and real fear in their eyes. They could not imagine that when Ying Xiao fought against them, he had not yet exerted all his strength. Captain of the trap, it won't be so easy to die, will it? Ying Xiao used his internal strength to urge the leaves on both sides of the street to rise, while he himself stepped on the leaves and reached the sky. Boom! A powerful internal force erupted from deep in the ground, and Zhao Gao came up. Spider silk converged one by one, enveloping his entire body and blocking the Buddha's movement of mountains and rivers. Let's take action, this is your last chance. Ying Xiao held high. Zhao Gao's eyes were like those of a spider in the abyss, sinister and venomous. The internal power containing toxins swam on every spider silk around him, causing the silk to gather again and form a venomous thorn. Your Highness, this move, my subordinate named the Empire Poison Spike, can it catch your eye? Zhao Gao hissed, this was his strongest strike from the abyss spider. A good name, but still the same sentence. After today, the trap will reshuffle, just like when you replaced LV Bouet. Ying Xiao then said, the old era will eventually pass, and a new era will come. The darkness of the empire, as well as the thorns in the darkness, cannot escape such fate. The sound of Buddha and Sanskrit echoed again, and Ying Xiao continued to strike the Buddha's palm. The heavenly Buddha has descended. This palm is like a towering mountain. It has not yet fallen completely, but the internal force shock shattered Zhao Gao's imperial stinger. Under countless swastika characters, all spider silk becomes nothing. At the moment when two abyssal spiders fell from Zhao Gao's hands, they turned into nothingness. Subsequently, the heavenly Buddha descended and penetrated Zhao Gao's body. Boom boom boom. Zhao Gao twisted his whole body, his robe torn, his high hat shattered, his hair disheveled, and he vomited blood in his mouth. Finally, he half knelt on the ground with his eyes splitting. But Zhao Gao still hasn't died. Wipe off the blood from the corners of my mouth and stand up. Ying Xiao slowly descended and couldn't help but admire, you truly deserve to be the leader of the trap. Your Highness, I really underestimate you. Even the experts in the world, including those who dominate the Ghost Valley, I don't take them seriously because they are just 100 schools of thought. Zhao Gao hissed. But today, Your Highness King Wu, you really dealt a blow to your subordinates. You said your weapon is the spider's silk of the abyss spider, but from what I feel, the sword edge in your body is infinite. Ying Xiao said, the strongest, after all, is still the sword. Under the threat of life and death, Zhao Gao no longer concealed himself. With a grab of his right hand, he took his sword from afar, and a sword with the strongest shining blade shot out from the mansion and fell into Zhao Gao's hands. This sword shook Ying Xiao's eyes. At the same time, it also shook the 6 swordsmen and the Grand Minister. Xiao Siming's purple eyes were also trembling. Because this sword is exactly the same as the Tianwen sword in Ying Xiao's hand. Another Tianwen sword. After being shocked, Ying Xiao sneered, sure enough, it's still a sword after all. And sure enough, you Zhao Gao, want to go against it. His Royal Highness, the so-called trap, Heaven and Earth's trap, is invincible. All the schools of thought and the entire empire are in the eyes of my subordinates. How could I be willing to be a servant? Zhao Gao said. Today, if it weren't for Your Highness King Wu's sudden beheading, I wouldn't have been so embarrassed. A wise man's every thought will lead to a mistake. This statement is true and true. After years of planning, failure only occurred in the blink of an eye. Your Highness, Prince Wu, I am really unwilling to accept it. Now, the only way to dispel my subordinate's unwillingness is to use His Highness Wu Wang's head. However, I have one thing to correct you. Your Highness Wu Wang, this sword is not worthy of being called the Tianwen sword. In this world, there is only one sword in this empire that is qualified to be called the Tianwen sword, and that is the sword in your hand, Your Highness Wu Wang. Because the owner of the sword stands at the peak of the world's power. On this point, I agree that in this world and this empire, there is only one sword that can be called the Tianwen sword. Ying Xiao responded, and the Tianwen sword was once again unsheathed. The two swords collided in an instant, and the two figures intertwined in that moment. What a fast body technique, what a fast sword, this Zhao Gao is really hidden and not leaked. The Grand Minister of Right said, at this moment, even I can't see where his sword is. Just His Highness Wu Wang's sword, why suddenly slowed down, as slow as the turning of an old age, and even all the sharpness dissipated, so indecisive that I even saw that this sword was just a cowardly one. As two figures intertwined, the sword of Zhao Master fell to the ground and broke in two. Zhao Gao also knelt down, with a bloodstain on his neck. How could it be? De Siming lost his voice and said. Xiao Siming finally spoke for the first time, this sword. In the eyes of the 6 swordsmen, there was both fear and deep admiration. They were also skilled swordsmen, but they couldn't understand that sword. May I ask His Highness King Wu, what is this sword called? Zhao Gao smiled instead as he watched the blood from his neck fall to the ground. It was a deeply frustrated smile and he asked slightly. Tai Chi. Ying Xiao responded, this sword uses stillness to break, softness to overcome hardness, and slowness to overcome speed. Tai Chi, a great name, a great sword. Zhao Gao praised, with no more reluctance in his tone. Your Highness, this trap belongs to you. After speaking, Zhao Gao fell to the ground with no breath left. Zhao Gao's death did not bring any excitement to Ying Xiao's heart, on the contrary, only palpitations. Because Zhao Gao's strength far exceeded Ying Xiao's expectations. Ying Xiao sighed in his heart. Fortunately, he was closed for a few more days in the end. If it weren't for those days, the winner of this battle would not have been known. At this point, the sound of the system rings. Ding! Host observes Zhao Gao's strongest sword and realizes that 10,000 swords belong to the sect. Is it good to return 10,000 swords to the sect? Ying Xiao thought to himself. Putting away the Tianwen sword, Ying Xiao turned to the 6 swordsmen and said, from this moment on, I am the leader of this trap. Do you have any objections? Your Highness, I dare not. 6 swordsmen knelt and acknowledged Ying Xiao as the new leader of the trap. Tell all the trapdoors that in the future, your Majesty's orders will come first, and my king's orders will come second. Apart from that, no one else can command the trapdoor. Those who violate orders will be killed without mercy. Yes, His Highness King Wu. The 6 swordsmen respectfully shouted. Then go do what you need to do, pass on this command to all the net killers, and then merge with me. Ying Xiao whispered, where will I be at that time? I believe with your abilities, you can find it. Yes, His Highness King Wu. Shua shua shua. Immediately, the 6 swordsmen disappeared into the darkness. The new trap is destined to be built upon new bloodshed, because there are by no means few who are loyal to Zhao Gao. Chapter 7. Talks with Fusu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As the 6 swordsmen left, Ying Xiao also left with the Grand Minister and the young minister, and returned to the Prince Wu's mansion. Originally, Ying Xiao planned to leave Xianyang directly and enter the martial arts world. But the battle with Zhao Gao made Ying Xiao understand that there was still some distance between him and invincibility. If you are not invincible, entering the martial arts world will be meaningless, and it is even more important to send people's heads. Ying Xiao doesn't want to die. He is the only king of the great Qin Dynasty, and Ying Zheng trusts him immensely. He has a system in place, and the Grand Minister and the young minister are already by his side. There are so many true life beauties waiting for him, and he doesn't want to die even if he dies. And the only way to ensure that he doesn't die is to become the strongest. So, let's first close the gates in King Wu's mansion. You two should stay in the Prince Wu's mansion for now. You can use as many rooms as you like, Ying Xiao ordered to the Grand Minister and the young minister. Although he really wanted to hold the 2 women in his arms and kiss them, it was too abrupt. As the only king of the great Qin, he still needed to have a gentlemanly demeanor, which was not easy to use. Yes, His Royal Highness King Wu. After bowing his hand in response, the Grand Minister and the Junior Minister walked towards the other palaces. Taking back his lewd thoughts, Ying Xiao entered his palace and murmured, Yun Zhongjun is dead. Zhenggu will definitely not believe in any elixirs in the future. With the care of the imperial physician, Zhenggu probably won't fart before he reaches 50. Zhao Gao has also died, and Hu Hai's little thief should not be so reckless anymore. Moreover, Zhao Gao is Hu Hai's nominal master, and the broken Tianwen sword will completely prove Zhao Gao's rebellious intentions. Hu Hai's little thief cannot escape any involvement and is likely to be placed under house arrest by Zhenggu. However, if this thief doesn't die, I still don't have that much peace of mind. However, I can't kill this thief, and Li Si is ultimately a change. At this moment, I can't kill Li Si. The turbulent empire still needs this prime minister. If Fusu could change. Forget it, let's not think about it anymore. First, familiarize yourself thoroughly with the 10,000 Swords sect and continue to comprehend. Immediately, Ying Xiao entered a closed state. In the main hall of the palace, the first emperor Ying Zheng listened to Zhang Han's report and was extremely angry. A temple person, relying on my favor, has controlled some fugitive prisoners and dead swordsmen. How dare you think of rebellion? Your Majesty, calm down, said Zhang Han respectfully. Where's Hu Hai? Ying Zheng's domineering eyes turned and asked. Your Majesty, the 18 young master has been at his mansion all along, Zhang Han responded. Then let him continue to stay in his own mansion. Without my orders, he is not allowed to step out of the mansion, including all the servants in his mansion. Ying Zheng said angrily. Yes, Your Majesty. After calming down, Ying Zheng's tone also softened. Zhang Han, are you sure that King Wu is okay? Your Majesty, rest assured that His Highness the King of Wu has not been harmed in any way. Based on your understanding of martial arts, Your Highness the King of Wu should have gained some understanding, which is why he closed down again, said Zhang Han. Moreover, His Highness King Wu instructed the Grand Minister to inform his subordinates that he would be in seclusion for a maximum of 10 days, and then he would enter the martial arts world to sweep away all the princes' families for His Majesty. If there's nothing, then it's fine. Ying Zheng whispered, send orders to Li Si and Fusu. Recently, all major and minor affairs will be handled by them, and I need to rest. Yes, Your Majesty. Somewhere, what kind of palace it is, the shadows of the stars are densely distributed, as if in the true starry sky, there are two energies of yin and yang constantly appearing. The star soul has arrived here. Through a screen, the star soul knelt and bowed, Lord Donghuang. Is it about King Wu? A deep voice came from inside. Does Lord Donghuang know? Xinghuan was startled. Zhao Gao died, do you know? What? Star Soul was surprised again. Zhao Gao, I believe a very strong mysterious opponent has also died in the hands of King Wu. The deep voice sighed, it seems that the variables in this world are in the hands of His Highness King Wu. He took away the Grand Commander and the young commander just in time. I was still thinking about how to get close to him, so he gave me a chance. As for what to do next, do you understand Star Soul? Understood, Lord Donghuang. Star Soul arched his hand in response. On the 9th day, Ying Xiao came out of seclusion. The Grand Minister immediately reported, Your Highness, Prince Wu, the young master of Fusu has been coming these days and has been waiting in the side hall today. Got it. Ying Xiao nodded and immediately headed towards the side hall. I happen to want to talk to this kid Fusu before leaving Xianyang, Ying Xiao murmured to himself and soon arrived at the side hall. Uncle Wang. Congratulations to Uncle Wang for coming out of seclusion. Please come in quickly. Before Ying Xiao could bow first, Fusu respectfully came out to welcome Ying Xiao. Dressed in white, with a handsome face and gentle eyes, this is the true humble gentleman, gentle and refined. But unfortunately, such a gentleman cannot be a good emperor. Ying Xiao sighed in his heart. Passing through is necessary, and Ying Xiao also bows and salutes. But being blocked by Fusu, Uncle Wang, don't break the curse of Fusu. Anyway, then I won't be polite, Ying Xiao smiled. Tell me, what's up? Uncle Wang, Fusu came to ask for advice. Recently, my father has asked me to handle all national affairs, and I feel very uneasy inside. Fusu also said directly. Fusu, do you think your father's emperor can look up to you? Ying Xiao paused and asked seriously, also, to be honest with Uncle Wang, do you want that position as the future emperor of the Great Qin? Upon hearing Ying Xiao's question, Fusu was immediately startled and his body trembled involuntarily. Fusu, do you know what your father said on the day he ascended the throne at the age of 13? Seeing Fusu trembling, Ying Xiaozhong said again, your father said, he wants everything in the 7 kingdoms. He did it too. Upon hearing Ying Xiao's words, Fusu's eyes flashed with determination and he said solemnly, "Uncle Wang, that position is what Fusu wants. As for whether Father Huang can value Fusu really doesn't know." "Uncle Wang told you that your father doesn't like you," Ying Xiao said. "The reason why he values you is because you are the legitimate eldest son, and most importantly, because among your brothers, there is no one better than you." Upon hearing these words, Fusu's expression instantly fell lonely. "So Fusu, you need to change," Ying Xiao continued. "You have too much leniency and not enough killing. The true gentlemanly demeanor is too strong and cunning is not enough. In today's great Qin, you are more aware of internal and external troubles than Uncle Wang. You have 100 schools of thought, the remnants of the 6 kingdoms, the Xiongnu, and Baiyue. Do you want to use the Confucian system of leniency to influence them? If possible, there wouldn't have been 700 years of war starting from Zhao. A true emperor should learn from all schools of thought. Standing in a high position, looking down on everything, as if observing fire, possessing thunderous means, one should be lenient and ruthless when necessary, and use both kindness and power. Don't be too rigid, don't think about which path is suitable for Qin, but understand that Qin can use whatever he needs." Chapter 8. Zhao Gao never dies, trapped and chased. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ying Xiao's words shook Fusu, leaving him unable to regain his senses for a long time. Fusu, Xiongnu, Baiyue, all external enemies, and the political affairs of this court, your father and emperor paved the way for you, and the descendants of 100 families, the remaining sins of the 6 countries, Uncle Wang paves the way for you. Watching the shaking Fusu, Ying Xiao continued. But if you remain unchanged, how can your shoulders carry the future of the Qin Empire? Uncle Wang's words are all here. Fusu, I hope that when we meet again, you will still be you, but you are not you. After speaking, Ying Xiao walked out of the side hall, and the Grand Minister and the young minister were waiting outside. On this day, 3 horses left Xianyang City. Ying Xiao's first destination. The location of quicksand. Wei Zhuang and his quicksand must be the targets that Ying Xiao wants to conquer. What Wei Zhuang wants, Ying Xiao knows it all. Afang Palace, garden, and pavilion above, Ying Jing sat in a white robe, enjoying the rare pleasure of feeding fish and admiring flowers. Beside him, there were 4 maids and an extraordinary general. Shangqing, commander of the Forbidden Army. Meng Yi. Meng Yi, have you arranged everything for King Wu? Ying Jing asked. Your Majesty, the imperial decree has been passed down. Officials at all levels of the empire, whether civil or military, obey the orders of King Wu. Those who violate the orders will be beheaded. Meng Yi arched his hand in response. General Zhang Han's side has also given orders. Shadow guards from all over the country will always contact King Wu. Okay, this time, King Wu will help me completely eliminate the internal worries of the empire. Ying Jing spoke heavily, both in tone and in his eyes, showing his trust in Ying Xiao. At that time, the Xiongnu, Baiyue. On the forest path, under the night sky, the moonlight falls and 2 beauties accompany each other. One is passionate and hot, while the other is silent like snow, each with its own unique charm. There is also wine to drink, and Ying Xiao feels really happy. With the sound of horses roaring and the bonfire thriving, Ying Xiao sat by the side and spoke generously, life is full of joy, don't let the golden cup empty against the moon. Then he raised the gourd in his hand and looked at the eldest and youngest Siming with a smile, both of you, come and have a drink with me. Your Highness, it should be a gourd. There is no golden cup here, whispered de Siming. In the past few days, de Siming has also gained some understanding of Ying Xiao's personality. Regarding his own people, Ying Xiao is very kind, which is why de Siming said so. Yes, it's a gourd, Ying Xiao laughed. Between the words, de Siming also picked up the wine gourd on his horse's back and drank with Ying Xiao. As for Xiao Siming, he remained indifferent and stood quietly. De Siming also explained to Xiao Siming, "Your Highness, Xiao Siming is just like that. Don't blame him." "How could that be?" Ying Xiao smiled. At the moment when the gourd in their hands collided with each other, their eyes changed. Because everyone felt the murderous aura. Perhaps due to a murderous aura, the wind suddenly grew stronger, and the leaves rustled and moved. Some of them fell with the wind, and behind the leaves, figures appeared out of thin air, all wearing black masks. "This mask is a trap." De Siming couldn't help but be surprised, but his expression immediately calmed down. "It's those assassins who are determined to be loyal to Zhao Gao. Your Highness, if you continue to drink alcohol, I will take care of it on your behalf." At this moment, De Siming's eyes became bloodshot and enchanting, scanning these trap killers with a strong disdain. The blood-red yin and yang qi surrounded the hands of De Siming's blood-red, but in an instant, it seemed as if it had traveled through space and penetrated through the surrounding area with many trap killers. Yin-yang technique. Silent blood boils. Ah. Any trapdoor assassin pierced by the blood-red yin and yang qi instantly turns red, as if cooked, rolling on the ground and howling incessantly. Silent blood boils, using unique blood-colored yin and yang internal power to make the enemy's blood boil to death. At the same time, Xiao Siming also moved. Ethereal like a bird, walking in the air, the two energies of yin and yang are so gentle, dancing with leaves, and the dance of a fairy is no better than this. But beneath such beautiful scenery, there is a strong murderous aura. Yin-yang technique. 10,000 leaves flying, flower flowing. Each leaf is as sharp as a famous sword, surrounded by internal forces of yin and yang, as if it has cut through space. Wherever the leaves dance and flow, all the traps and assassins fall. De Siming and Xiao Siming are both super experts in the later stage of the heavenly and human realm. Coupled with the elusive yin and yang techniques, their combat power has definitely reached the peak level of the heavenly and human realm. Although there are many of these trap killers, there is not even a top-notch assassin, and the Grand Minister and the Junior Minister are destined to be a one-sided massacre. Suddenly, Ying Xiao put down the wine gourd in his hand, his eyes shining with brilliance. The Tianwen sword on his horse's back resonated even more, and he unsheathed himself and reached Lin Fan's hand. At this moment, De Siming and Xiao Siming also stopped killing. They felt a terrifying killing intent, which seemed to condense into invisible sword energy, pressing directly into their hearts. De Siming also spoke with a solemn expression, "What a terrifying murderous aura." Even the 6 swordsmen did not possess such a murderous aura. "The net conceals the sun." Ying Xiao murmured in his heart, but quickly denied, "It's not concealing the sun. Although concealing the sun is strong, it's not as strong as the 6 sword slaves. It's impossible to have such killing energy. Moreover, this killing energy has 2 waves, coming from both of them. Shua. Shua. 2 figures came with the wind, wielding a sword that struck the Grand Minister and the Junior Minister. Just the most ordinary sword. But it was just such an ordinary sword, with a powerful and soul-stirring aura. The invisibly terrifying and fierce sword wind made De Siming and Xiao Siming feel that they had been slain. As a last resort, the Grand Commander and the Junior Commander will do their best. Under the flowing flowers of 10,000 leaves, all the leaves on the surrounding trees were controlled by Xiao Siming in that moment, like thousands of swords coming out together. The blood-red yin and yang energy on De Siming's hands became increasingly thick, and the blood-red skull handprint condensed in an instant. The yin and yang technique. The skull blood handprint. Boom. The 2 sword energies fell, and the moves of the Grand Minister and the Young Minister were instantly annihilated. However, De Siming and Xiao Siming also blocked the sword energy, but both suffered internal injuries, bleeding from the corners of their mouths, and stumbled backwards. Ying Xiao quickly moved to the front of De Siming and Xiao Siming, blocking the remaining sword energy for them, otherwise they would still suffer skin injuries. "Your Highness, you are truly powerful." His cold voice echoed fiercely like sword energy, and two black-clad men wearing half-masks appeared on both sides of Ying Xiao, one on the left and the other on the right. I really can't believe that there is someone more powerful than the 6 swordsmen among the trap killers, and they are not even 1.5 stars. Ying Xiao repeated. His Highness Wu Wang believes that the 6 swordsmen are the strongest in the trap, and he may underestimate the trap too much. The man in black on the left said lightly, I underestimate Lord Zhao even more. Upon hearing these words, Lin Fan's expression froze and he suddenly felt uneasy in his heart. He coldly asked, what does that mean? Your Highness, Lord Zhao Gao asked me to bring you greetings. The person in black on the right whispered softly. Ying Xiao's pupils suddenly shrank and he said, Zhao Gao hasn't died. The Grand Minister behind Ying Xiao also said in disbelief, it's impossible. How could Zhao Gao not have died? After His Highness Wu Wang kills him, His Majesty the First Emperor's Shadow Guard will definitely take over the Chefu mansion. If Zhao Gao had not died, how could the Shadow Guard not have known? At this moment, Ying Xiao thought of it and said with a grin, I understand. In Xianyang City, outside the Zhongche mansion, that Zhao Gao is a substitute. Having a double is the consistent style of the net. As the master of the net, Zhao Gao, how could he not have a double? Chapter 9. Elder Trap, 2 Extraordinary Swords. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Stand in. De Siming's beautiful eyes blinked and he spoke heavily, a human skin mask, or even a disguise technique, I see. I'm afraid it's not a human skin mask, nor is it a disguise technique. If it were a human skin mask and a disguise technique, how could they deceive the Shadow Guard? Ying Xiao said. In this martial arts world, there are superb swordsmanship, magical yin-yang techniques, and mysterious medical techniques. It may be difficult to completely change a person's appearance and voice, but as long as there is time, success will be achieved. Medical skills have completely changed one's appearance and voice, but I underestimate this so-called medical skill a bit. De Siming sighed as he recovered. His Highness Wu Wang is truly intelligent, and the trap underestimated him. The 2 half-masked assassins praised him, so, the trap will no longer underestimate His Highness Wu Wang. The net of heaven and earth is invincible, Your Highness Wu Wang. This time, you will only be trapped in this net. That's really my honor, Ying Xiao smiled lightly. It's just a net. It's natural to trap some mosquitoes, flies, ants, and insects. If you want to trap a fierce tiger, it might be a bit difficult. It's naturally difficult, but it's not impossible because this net is not an ordinary net. Even a real dragon can entangle it, and a fierce tiger is nothing, said the 2 half-masked assassins. So confident. Ying Xiao said. Of course, because in the trap, we are the assassins who have never failed. In this world, only we can call them the strongest assassins. The elder of the trap is here to pay homage to His Highness the King of Wu. The 2 of them arched their hands and said. Elder Trap. Ying Xiao squinted and murmured, is it the strongest assassin above the Tianzi level assassin? Under the trap of elders, there are no assassins, the 2 of them whispered. What a big tone, said the Grand Minister coldly. Yin Yang family, De Siming, Xiao Siming, hum. Hearing De Siming's cold snort, the 2 of them looked at De Siming and Xiao Siming for the first time, even more disdainful. If it weren't for Lord Zhao Gao's desire to obtain the secret of the yin-yang technique from you, you would already be dead at this moment. Seeking death. Being looked down upon by Elder Trap, De Siming was completely angry. In the cold and solemn voice, the blood-red yin and yang qi had become like a unique realm. Step back, you are not really opponents of these 2, Ying Xiao ordered. Don't die out of anger, that's an unwise choice. Yes, His Highness King Wu. With Ying Xiao's command, the Grand Minister reluctantly retreated. Of course, it was her own understanding that she was definitely not a match for these 2 trapped elder assassins that truly caused the Grand Minister to step back. Xiao Siming also retreated with Siming. Two of you, come out with your swords. Ying Xiao's fighting spirit had already risen, and his sword energy dissipated, causing the Tianwen sword in his hand to resonate. And Tianwen's sword is also resonating on its own. Feeling the self-resonance of Tianwen's sword, Ying Xiao also remembered that Tianwen's sword had just reached his hand on its own, instead of him taking the sword from afar. Shua. Ying Xiao's gaze followed Tianwen's sword intention and fell on the swords in the hands of the two elder traps. These two swords. Ying Xiao couldn't help but mutter, "Can you tell me their names?" His Highness Wu Wang is holding the Tianwen sword, which ranks first in the sword spectrum and is also the sword of the Emperor. He is barely qualified to know the names of these two swords. The two of them spoke in unison. Then the elder Luo on the left first informed him, "Your Highness, the name of this sword is Not Angry, and my subordinate is also codenamed Not Angry." Immediately, it stimulated its internal power, and the originally silver-white sword body instantly shot with golden light, killing endlessly. Then, the elder Luo on the right spoke up again, "Your Highness, I have the sword name Fenji in my hand, and I have the code name Fenji." Xiong xiong xiong. The sword energy crisscrossed, as if burning like fire, warming up this area. Not angry, burning silence, neither of them are on the sword spectrum, but I can feel that these two swords are not inferior to Tianwen. Ying Xiao repeated, "The trap really impressed me. Thank you very much to Luo Wang for bringing these two good swords to me. Since the trap is still the original trap, I have to create my own martial arts force, which happens to lack good swords. Ha ha ha, I admire your Highness Wu Wang for your ambition, but..." I laughed heartily, and in the laughter, the golden sword energy shone even more brightly under the reflection of the moonlight. As fast as the golden light is, this sword is as fast as it pierces through Ying Xiao's throat. Within a millimeter, the edge of the Tianwen sword blocked this sword. The domineering sword aura engulfed all the golden sword aura. Ding ding dang dang. In an instant, Ying Xiao and Bu Chen had already engaged in more than 10 rounds of confrontation. Suddenly, a scorching heat came from behind Ying Xiao, indicating that Fen Ji had taken action. In the scorching sword aura, there was a deadly and bloody attack. Although not as fast as the sword that was not angry, its killing power was sufficient. Ying Xiao activated the Tai Xian Jing, unleashing his internal power. He used the Dugu 9 Swords breaking sword technique to block the sudden ultimate sword of Fen Ji. Under the reflection of the moonlight, the sword light seems to have lost its original murderous aura, dancing like a good painting. The resonance of the sword is like that ancient Tibetan song, powerful and piercing into the heart. The figures of the three are intertwined constantly, and their body movements are equally beautiful as paintings. Watching such a battle, the Siming's pupils twirled inexplicably, and he spoke heavily in his heart, "How beautiful the picture is, how strong the killing power of each sword is. At this moment, if I join the battle, perhaps I don't know how I died." When His Highness King Wu killed the fake Zhao Gao, he definitely did not exert all his strength. And in the trap, there is such a top-notch assassin who is completely superior to the 6 swordsmen. The Eastern Emperor underestimated the trap and even underestimated Zhao Gao. No, maybe I underestimated Lord Donghuang. Even though I was the head of the Yin Yang family, I never saw Lord Donghuang take action from beginning to end. I thought I was already a super expert in the later stage of the heavenly and human realm, but now it seems a bit ridiculous. At this moment, the sword power of the 3 swords reached its peak. "Your Highness, let's see the sword that killed the fake Zhao Gao," he shouted without anger, "are you qualified?" Ying Xiao spoke calmly, his sword energy enveloping him, and he faintly entered a state of madness. Dugu Zhejian, what is seeking defeat? These days, Ying Xiao's seclusion has given him a new understanding of Dugu Zhejian. Among the mad demons, there is no fear or fear. Among all the wills and thoughts, there is only one mad sword, and only that endless mad demon. The sword in a state of madness is the true sword of seeking defeat. Lonely Nine Swords. Breaking Sword Style. The combination of man and sword made Ying Xiao's eyes red with blood, and his sword energy was as strong as blood. At this moment, Ying Xiao is a sword demon. Only the sword demon can unleash the true Dugu Nine Swords. Seeing this sword, Buang and Fenji couldn't help but look at each other, both seeing a hint of fear in their eyes. They claim to be the strongest assassins and also the strongest swordsmen. In just an instant, they can see that this is a terrifying sword, a sword that truly terrifies them. Chapter 10. Stop Punishment with Punishment. The Birth of Heavenly Punishment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. But at this moment, the heart that is not angry and burning silent is excited. Real excitement. How long has it been since they met such an opponent who made them feel life and death in an instant? Even the one who was angry and feared by the feudal lords, and lived in peace and tranquility, the Ghost Valley crisscrossed the world. In their eyes, it was just 100 schools of thought. Your Highness, you have given us enough surprise, said Buchen with a grin. With one hand gripping the handle of Buchen's sword, and the other hand with both fingers passing over the body of Buchen's sword, the golden sword energy dispersed during the battle, forming two opposing forces like yin and yang. His Royal Highness, there are two sides to a person, good and evil. Sword killing also has two sides, both good and evil. Two sides of good and evil. Between the words, the sword of Buang thrust out, instantly making the distant Grand and Junior Siming feel that their bodies were about to be cut in half, and their internal yin and yang forces were also torn apart. What a terrifying sword, it puts everything in opposition. This opposition is even more important than the yin and yang qi. What kind of sword technique is this? There is such a master in the trap. Compared to him, the 6 swordsmen are truly like fireflies and bright moons. The Grand Master was shocked. Fenji also took action at this moment. The sword is like fire, with a strong aura that exudes a terrifying sense of death. The saying goes that wildfires cannot burn out, and spring breeze blows again. But under such a blazing sword of death, everything will turn into ashes. Your Highness, I will control your vitality by burning silence, and I will extinguish your life by burning silence. Burning Silence spoke calmly, as the sword moved and followed without anger. In a daze, the two exchanged positions again, burning silently in front and not angry at the back. In an instant, there was one left and one right. In the world of martial arts, only speed remains unbreakable. The swords of the two elder traps have reached the extreme of speed. However, Ying Xiao's eyes did not blink. Under the madness, there was only one sword in his eyes. His sword was the strongest sword. The madness sought defeat, but never lost. Sword light criss-cross, internal forces collide, and figures intertwine. In an instant, everything returned to calm. Under the hazy moonlight, the drops of 2 drops of blood seemed to dye half of the sky red. Buang and Fenji half knelt down, each with a sword mark on their neck, and the blood gradually thickened. It seems that you haven't had the chance to see my second sword, but you are also proud enough. With such a crazy sword that seeks defeat and breaks through all the swords in the world, you were the first to see it. Slowly turning around, Ying Xiao whispered. The sword of the trap, if defeated, is death. However, as His Highness Wu Wang said, with such a sword, we are proud to die. Buang and Fenji spoke in unison, with no fear of death in their eyes and no unwillingness. Immediately, they fell to the ground in response. Lingbo micro-step. After the downfall of Buang and Fenji, Ying Xiao was already a remnant of the Shadow Dao. Among the traps and assassins around, there were Ying Xiao, with dragon chants echoing and dragons fighting in the wild. The screams echoed quickly and also went quickly. As Ying Xiao finished dealing with these small subordinates, the Grand Minister and the Junior Minister each brought Buang and Fenji to Ying Xiao's side. Don't be angry, burn silence. I have never heard of these 2 swords. Have you heard of them? Ying Xiao asked the Grand Minister and the young minister. De Siming shook his head slightly and said, Your Highness, I have never heard of it before, and I don't even know that there is an elder-level assassin in the trap. Zhao Gao. Ying Xiao spoke heavily, and the gravity in his pupils couldn't help but increase. I thought I had already solved this major problem for De Qin, but I never thought I was just a substitute, let alone the fact that the net of the trap was much larger than what I knew. Immediately, Ying Xiao released the signal flare, which was the signal flare of the Shadow Guard. This matter must be made known to Zhang Han as soon as possible, otherwise Xinggu may not be in danger. After playing the signal flare, Ying Xiao picked up the sword of Buchen, closed his eyes, and recalled the sword technique used by the assassin Buchen. Under the influence of his supernatural intelligence, Ying Xiao quickly grasped what he wanted. Ding! The host recalls the strongest sword of the trap killer Buang and comprehends the Buang sword technique. As he realized it, Ying Xiao opened his eyes and waved the sword of no anger, unleashing the technique once. He exclaimed heavily, It's truly an incredible sword technique, with both sides good and evil. No wonder the elder-level assassin of the trap is superior to the 6 sword slaves. This directly stunned the Grand Minister. She couldn't imagine that Ying Xiao had only mastered the terrifying swordsmanship of the trap killer Buchen by fighting against him in a moment. Throughout history, the first swordsmanship genius. Looking at Ying Xiao, De Siming's eyes began to show genuine admiration. This is the second person truly admired by her Grand Commandant, after Empress Dowager Tai. Xiao Siming's purple pupils are also shrinking. She remained unabashed in everything, and the silence of her heart was like the silence of death. However, since following Ying Xiao's side, she has been touched several times. Afterwards, Ying Xiao picked up the sword of burning silence again. Ding! The host recalls the strongest sword of the trap killer, the burning silence sword, and comprehends the burning silence sword technique. Immediately, he also used the burning silence sword to perform the burning silence sword technique. Death, flames, as if it were fire from hell, this swordsmanship originated from the battlefield. Amidst the flames of war, millions of undead souls were all under this swordsmanship, murmured Ying Xiao. De Siming, keep these 2 swords safe, Ying Xiao immediately ordered. Yes, His Highness King Wu. The Grand Minister nodded. Since the Luo Wang is no longer under my command, I need to establish a new force, murmured Ying Xiao. The legalist Han Fei once said, Confucian scholars use literature to disrupt the law, while knights use martial arts to break the ban. In this world, the only way to stop punishment is through punishment. This new force is called, Heavenly Punishment. Heavenly Punishment. The Grand Minister murmured softly. De Siming, do you think you were the elder of the Yin Yang family first, or were you the person of the heavenly punishment of this king first? Walking up to De Siming, Ying Xiao whispered softly in his ear with his lips. Upon hearing this question, De Siming's expression shook. De Siming immediately arched his hand and prepared to answer. But stopped by Ying Xiao, don't worry, this answer. I want to listen to it for a while, and as for how long it will take after a while, I will ask again. So, if I give you time to think carefully, then you should think carefully, Grand Minister. The last 3 words, Ying Xiao's lips were almost pressed against De Siming's jade ear, causing De Siming to feel restless and restless. However, De Siming also had no time to worry and become restless. She knew very well that Ying Xiao only wanted one answer to this question, which was that she would always be separated from the Yin Yang family and just be the commander-in-chief of the heavenly punishment. Yin Yang family, heavenly punishment. De Siming murmured in his heart, feeling the threat of death for the first time. She is afraid of Emperor Tai, and she is also afraid of Ying Xiao now. Unable to help, De Siming looked at Xiao Siming and asked in his heart, what kind of answer are you? Xiao Siming may have been evading, or perhaps he really didn't know the meaning of De Siming's gaze. He slowly moved and followed Ying Xiao to where Ma Er was. At this moment, two figures rushed between the trees. When he arrived in front of Ying Xiao, he knelt down and bowed respectfully. "Shadow Guard, pay respects to His Highness King Wu."